Hey guys, welcome back to Midnight Auto Repair. This is Josh, and that's the S10. And today, we're doing fuel system work because if you saw the thumbnail, you saw exactly how disgusting this fuel system was. And I'm going to take a moment and show you guys. You see how nasty this thing is? Rust all the way up. Well, this was the fuel unit, sending unit. Blah, 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 blah. But nice thing about this is it's nice and simple since this was a carbureted engine before. So in all reality, all it is a fuel level sensor and a way to pick up fuel from the tank, and just really nothing else. No fuel pump, no nothing. But secret that let me know that may have looked like that was the fuel gauge being on infinite full. So stay tuned, and I'm gonna take you through trying to clean this thing out. And I got a new sending unit. I'm not gonna try to reuse that. I'm entertaining, not psychotic. So stay tuned. Alright guys, so here is our 13-gallon tank, which, well, 13.2 if you want to be technical. And forgive my stuffiness, I got a little bit of a head cold going on here. But what we got here is the factory tank out of this thing, and as you can see, for a almost 40-year-old tank, it looks pretty standard issue on the outside. It's rusty, crusty, but doesn't leak, at least that I know of yet. But our big issue is going to be inside this tank. So we're going to take our light and see if I can't get in here and show you guys just how disgusting this really is. Let's see if I can get the GoPro in there. You can actually see where the fuel level in this thing was sitting. And all of this is not exactly rust. I mean, most of it is, but not all of it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through and we're going to try a chemical cleaning first. And to chemical clean something like that, because that has been in there for a very, very, very long time. And chances are there may have been ethanol fuel in that at some point. And that's mostly due to the fact that this thing was attempted to be started 5 or 6 years ago with the 4-cylinder. And that's when we figured out that that motor had issues, and then it got shoved into the corner. So what we are going to attempt to do is, over here. We're going to try Berkebile's Convoy, which is a heavy-duty degreaser cleaner, and it's got a mild acid in it because it's actually meant to brighten aluminum. So we're going to see how well that eats at the rust, and then anything that's left over is going to get Pour 15 metal prepped before going to get sealed. And now for sealant, there are all kinds of things on the market, but I got a Pour 15 fuel tank sealer, and we're just going to get the tank cleaned out, and then we got to get it to dry. So this is going to be the start of this video, but probably in a day or two when that tank dries out completely, I am going to go over it and I'm going to pour all of this in there, and then I'm just going to take that tank and just swirl it around and manipulate it just to get it all coated. And then effectively what we should end up with is a brand new tank inside, and then outside I'm going to probably church it up with some actual Pour 15 just to make it look good. But we're going to try to retain the original tank. Now I could go out and buy a new tank, which most people would say would probably be the smart thing to do, but that's not what this channel's about. This channel's about trying to make do with what you got. I mean, you know, it kind of goes with the rest of all of this, is that this truck here is just built out of all kinds of cast-off stuff. So, like, it's going to be fitting with it, where we made do with what we had, or we made something work. So we're going to make it work. So stay tuned. All right, so we're going to pour this in here. Now, you'll notice there's still a little liquid in there. I power washed this the other night just to try to not trying to knock all kinds of dirt into it, not knowing that I wasn't going to do any damage by knocking any dirt into it. It was actually worse inside the tank than it was outside. But I power washed the inside of it, and what you saw was actually what was left over. So this thing was pretty bad. Now this convoy here, this one is a super concentrated. It's like 5 ounces to 5 gallons. So, you know, if a little is good, a lot is better. And holy crap is this thick. So I understand now the 5 ounces to 5 gallons. We're gonna go a little, we're just gonna give her a good old drink of this. And then what we're gonna do is we are going to add water to it. And this thing is gonna sit and marinate and see how much of this actually dissolves. Wow, is this stuff thick. Hey. So I'm gonna say that's probably enough to treat 30 or 40 gallons, which should be plenty to do the inside of this tank. And now some guys will drop marbles in these. They'll drop rocks or stuff like that in there, and that will be my next resort if I have to. I kind of like to see what this will do when the degreaser just is allowed to eat at it. But what I'll do is just like that, and just let it fill. So we're going to come back to that once I get it full, and we're going to see just how much of that kind of transfers into the liquid that's in there. So stay tuned. Well, we found our first indication that all may not be well here. That's it's not supposed to happen like that. And it is coming from the seal of the tank, by the looks of it. Yep. Still not a terrible thing, because we are going to try to put that tank seal in there, but not the best start. At least not at the halfway level here. So I wanted to catch you guys up on that when I saw it. So we're going to try to make that work. So hang loose. So I got bad news. It's not coming from the seam. It is actually coming out of the side of the tank. So this tank may be pretty exceptionally rotted, because that's not like an oozing leak, that's a pouring leak. And by the way, this stuff is biodegradable, so going down the drain ain't gonna hurt it none. But it is what it is. I'm gonna see if I can't get this one patched, and if I do patch it, I will bring you guys in for that. If I end up having to replace this, I'm gonna see if I can't find another 13-gallon tank used somewhere. But it's kind of a disappointing beginning to this endeavor that I had set up for. I thought we were really gonna get this thing cleaned out, but it's pretty bad. That sucks. All right, guys, we'll be back. All right, guys, so it's a few days later, by the way. I've been doing my due diligence and trying to research, see if I can find a replacement tank for this thing. And I can, but only in a 20-gallon capacity. Nobody anymore, it seems, makes the 13-gallon tank, which this lovely little nugget here happens to be. So I've ordered the sending unit already for the 13-gallon tank, so I'm kind of committed to this deal. But so what we're going to do is we are going to get into some creative territory, which is nothing new for me and us here. But I'm going to bring you guys along, and we're going to see if we can't attempt to clean the rust off this thing, try to kill the rust with phosphoric acid, and then we are going to try to coat the thing. At least we're going to JB weld over the hole, and then we're going to coat the whole outside of the thing in sealant. That way at least we have some way to contain it so I can clean the inside of it. Because I can't let anything sit and soak in there that's more than half a tank with the way it sits now. So hang loose. I'm going to get this thing all wire wheeled down. So I'm going to spare you watching the, I don't know, probably 15 or 20 minutes it's going to take me to wire wheel this thing. So we'll be back once I hit that point. Alright guys, so as you just saw, I took the wire wheel and went over the whole tank. Now we're gonna see what the end result is. So yeah, here we go. And like any good rusty tank, there's more. So in our cleaning, this is what we came up with here. We ended up with some extra pinholes on the side, on top of our hole that we had developed right in under there. That was the initial hole. That was the one we found originally. So I'm gonna break out the phosphoric acid, or as everybody knows it as metal prep or rust converter. So what we have here is the Pour 15 rust converter, but in this case, or the, should I say, metal prep, which you're supposed to use on bare metal for the same phosphoric acid. But on rusty metal, it actually catalyzes it and turns it into, what is that? An oxide of some sort. And I'm not a scientist, so bear with me, but I'm gonna put this on a tripod and I'm gonna start brushing this thing down, and we're gonna let it sit like that and soak overnight, and then tomorrow we're gonna come in and I'm gonna start coating the outside of the tank to see if we can't save this one. I'm gonna put a little JB weld here and on the other holes and let it both cure for the night. That way we know we've got a good tight bond on it. We know that our JB weld is well cured, our metal prep has done its thing. That way when we go to coat it with the tank sealant on the outside, we're also going to do that on the inside as well, but on the outside we know that all of our work underneath should hold out. So here's hoping. So guys, bear with me. I know this is kind of a ugly process, but in the end I promise it will be worth it. Alright guys, so we're going to do a little rust conversion here. So we're going into hands watching me mode. So we're just going to take a generic little container, take some of our phosphoric acid and just enough to wet the brush. You need more, you can always pour more. What we're going to do is we're just going to commence slathering on this thing. And what you should see, hopefully it'll show up on camera, is all the stuff that's rusted should start turning black as the phosphoric acid starts interacting with the rust. So we're just gonna essentially basically soak all this tight adhering rust down with this phosphoric acid, and it should start converting it and turning it into a treatable surface, something that we can put our epoxy on, or if you were attempting to do body work and you were using this for the same principle, you would do this, then you would go to doing like an epoxy primer of some sort, something to properly prep the surface. So I'm gonna get this brushed down, but I was hoping that it would show up on camera, but yeah, it's a little slower acting than I'd hoped. So stay tuned. I'll show you once we get this thing soaked down properly. All right, guys, so I've been trying to figure out this tank, and it's been a battle for about a week or so now, as you guys have been watching this video, which I'm hoping hasn't been too long, but I wanted to bring you in on, there are times that you can fix a tank, which if there's a pinhole or two, justified, or if it's something super rare. But in the case of an S10, there's only so much effort you can put in before you start negating anything you're saving by trying to save a part. And it's kind of going to be one of those things where I'll show you why. This thing here, we went through all the effort of cleaning it up, and then it started kind of acting like it was too far gone. And I'm going to show you, if I can get the GoPro in here, you'll see there's daylight showing through in several spots, if you can see. So, yeah, I'm back, but so that's a little too much to fix, because you can't guarantee that all those holes are going to stay fuel tight, especially on a vehicle where the exhaust comes out and around the tank and back over. So last thing you want is fuel to start weeping and leaking out of there. So this thing here is going to get replaced by this, our brand new 20-gallon tank for an S10. This is actually for an 86. Now, nobody makes a 13-gallon tank for this thing anymore. I've even looked back on forum posts from, I don't know, 2007, 2008, and they were even talking about the fact that nobody made a tank back then. So clearly for 10 to 20 years, nobody's made a 13-gallon tank. So this is what we're left with here, which, I mean, on a V8 S10, it's probably a blessing in disguise to have fuel capacity. But, so 20-gallon tank for an 86, and over here we have a brand new fuel sending unit that's going to go in this thing. Now this is the 13-gallon sending unit, but when I stuffed it down in there, it reaches the bottom. Nothing's impeding the fuel level sensor, so even though it says it technically shouldn't work, we're going to kind of sort of make it work. So yeah, I'm going to get this stuffed in there. I'm going to get the lock ring on it, and then I'm going to show you what we're going to do for the anti-squeak kind of fiber that goes underneath the straps there. Because the original anti-squeak was, well, let's just say it's torn, dilapidated, and coming off. But I have a creative solution to this, so stay tuned. All right, so we got the sending unit in with the O-ring and the lock ring on it. And the lock ring is nice just because all you gotta do is slide it, twist it, take a hammer or the flathead screwdriver and just kind of tap it until it comes to a stop, because it won't let you go too far. But now with these, the big thing is so originally they come with these, and these are designed for anti-squeak. They're just there as a protective layer for when the band goes around it to keep the tank from, you know, squeaking and rattling in its bands. So most guys I know don't even bother with these things anymore. I'll admit there have been times in my life I have been that guy, but not this time. This time we are going to replace this here because it's not going to adhere anymore. And so we're going to use this, which is just cheap sound deadening, non-flammable, kind of heat resistant sound deadening, because this black stuff here is actually like muffler packing. It's just a non-flammable heat resistant material, and then the foil on the top there, it'll just sit on there like that, and then when we put the band on, at least it gives it something to squeeze around and insulate the tank from chafing on the band itself or, you know, making noise. So I'm gonna get these adhered on, and then we're gonna start by putting the fuel filler neck, the hoses and everything back on this, and then I'm gonna attempt to get the bands on it. That way we can start getting this thing back in the vehicle. So I think I'm gonna end this episode here, and we're gonna pick up with the tank in and me starting to make fuel lines. So guys, I appreciate you staying to the end of this video. If you've made it this far, it means a lot to me. And guys, like and subscribe. You know, those two things help me the most. Especially if you know me, I'm trying to get this up and going, and not just the truck, but this channel. And guys, the ones, you all who have been there from the beginning, it means the world to me that you guys have, and that you support me the way you do. So just give me a quick thumbs up. I'd appreciate that. But this is Josh from Midnight Auto Repair saying I hope you guys have a wonderful day. I'll catch you in the next one.